Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today we're looking at basic charts in Microsoft Excel. The thing that we're going to focus on here is creating basic charts and making sure that the charts we choose to create make sense for the data that we're actually going to be plotting. We're going to start with this data here from a bakery. They have a number of products and they have a number of items sold each week. To chart this, one of the ways that we could chart it is to use a pie chart. So I'm going to select over all of the data. That's typically where you start with a chart. And then we'll go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and we'll go to Recommended Charts. And you'll find that pie charts is going to be a recommended type of chart for this kind of data because it's just one set of data. You can't use a pie chart for multiple sets of data, but you can for a single one. So I think this is a good choice here. I'm going to click OK. And Excel is going to place the chart in the worksheet. You can see that the number sold becomes the chart heading. And we've got pie chart slices with a legend down the bottom here. So we can read the legend and say apple turnovers are this yellow color, and here they are on the chart. If you don't like the way that looks, you can click on the chart and you can come across here to chart elements. We're going to have a look at data labels because data labels would allow us to label this data a little bit more clearly. So we're going to check that there and we're going to click on the arrow here to see what we can do. Well, I'm going to choose more options because that's going to be easier for me to see what the options I have are. Now you want to be careful that you don't disable all of these checkboxes because things can go a little bit crazy. So make sure that you always have something checked before you deselect something else. I'm going to click on category name because that puts these categories here next to the items that they relate to. I just think it looks a little bit better. Now, leader lines are these little lines here that show what the data is. So if something is a little distance away from the chart, the leader lines are going to show that it belongs to this area. I think this is a better look for our chart, and it's also got the items in it. So I'm just going to click away here, but I do want to get rid of this legend down here because we don't need it any longer. So we'll go to the plus sign again and we're going to legend and we'll just disable that. If we turn it off, the legends get disabled. Now the chart's changed a bit, so we're going to need to do something to fix this up. We've sort of lost a bit of the look of it here. So what I can do is go and select this item donuts. I want to make sure that it's got dots all the way around it because only that item is selected. I'm just going to drag it out of the way here. And we'll go to get croissants again. It's got dots around it. Nothing else is selected. I can move it out of the way. Let's do the same for cinnamon rolls and vanilla slice. And let's just clean up apple turnovers. I can solve that a little bit by making the line a little bit wider or the box a little bit wider so it can fit a bit better here in the chart. If I want to make sure that cream buns has a data line, I can just pull it out of the way a little bit. By just pulling it out of the way, I can just attach it to the chart itself. There, that one's attached now, and let's do that for chocolate eclairs. So a pie chart is a good chart to use when you've just got a single piece of data, but you may want to work with it a little bit to get it to show exactly what it is that you want to see. Before we leave the pie chart, let's just make a note of the data that we have here. Here we have the data for the total number of these items sold over a week. And the baker could look at this chart and get some data from it. For example, we could say that about a third of the items that we sell are donuts and croissants. They make about the third of the number of items that we sell. And over here, about a quarter of the items are in the fruit tarts, cream buns, and chocolate eclairs. So we could make comparisons using this chart because this is a breakdown of the total number of items that we sell in a week by product number. Now we're going to see some data that's similar to this, but where a pie chart just isn't going to work. Let's have a look at this. This is the average monthly temperatures for a location. So we've got months and temperatures, but you would never use a pie chart for this. Instead, some sort of column chart or a line chart would be a better choice. So I'm going to start by dragging over the data because that's the starting point for any chart. Then I'm going to the Insert tab and I'm always going to look at recommended charts just to see what Excel suggests. Excel is suggesting a line chart and also a column chart, a clustered column chart for this. I think the clustered column chart is probably going to be a good choice. So I'm just going to select it and click OK. I'm only ever going to use a chart that I understand myself. Now these temperatures are in Celsius, so that's why if you're living in the United States they look a little bit cold to you. They're not, they're pretty warm in the middle of the year here. So here we have the chart data. Now we may want to use something other than average as our title, so I can just click in here and type average monthly temperatures. And to be clear that these are Celsius, I'm going to click on this axis here. I'm going to the plus sign, I'm going to Axis Titles, and I'm going to select Primary Vertical so that we can type in here Celsius. This is an appropriate chart to use. Now we could make it look a little bit more attractive by right-clicking it and choose Format Data Series, and we'll go to the color option. You can open up the fill options here, and you could, for example, select vary colors by point. So let's just do that, and so we will get different colors for the chart. You could also just choose a different solid fill, so let's go to solid fill, but let's say that we want to use a sort of orange color to match the rest of the worksheet. For this particular data, a line chart or a clustered column chart is the best way to show these temperatures, because what we want to see is that the temperatures are going to rise up in the middle of the year. So we could assume that this particular location is in the northern hemisphere, for example. Here we have some data for 3 different geographical locations: Canada, California, and the West Coast. And we have the data broken up by various things that this organization sells. If we want to create a chart for this, we're going to select over all of the data. Again, we're going to the Insert panel. Again, we'll go to Recommended Charts. Now Excel is going to suggest an option for charts for us, a clustered column, and we could also use a stacked column. Let's have a look at the clustered column. This would set out computers, software, consulting, and telephones as the x-axis, and then we would have individual plots for Canada, California, and West Coast. In a minute we'll have a look at how we could reverse this, so we would have California, Canada, and West Coast here, and the actual bars would relate to the items that we're selling. But there's another option here, and that's a stack column. So we could see that we sell computers, software, consulting, and telephony, and so we could determine from this we sell the least in the way of consulting and the most in the way of software. That would be comparatively difficult to read off this data, but very easy to read off the chart. In a minute also we would see how we could change this around to plot Canada, California, and West Coast on the x-axis, and the computer, software, consulting, and telephony here on the legend. So we're just going to choose one of these charts. I'm going to do the cluster column. I'll click OK. Now we would add a title to this chart. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to concentrate on this area of the chart, because if we wanted to put Canada, California, and West Coast up here, we can do so. With the chart selected, we can come up here to switch row column. And when I click that, you'll see now that we've got Canada, California, and other West Coast. And this is what we sell in the way of computers, software, consulting, and telephony in Canada. And it's here for California, and here is the data for other West Coast. So simply switching the row and column changes what's being plotted on our chart. Let's delete that chart and let's go back and have a look at the stacked chart. Insert Recommended, and this time I'm going to choose a stacked column chart. I'll click OK. Here we can see the total amount that we sell in terms of computers and software and consulting and telephony. So obviously we sell least of consulting and most of software. But like that other chart, we may want to move these legend options into the x-axis and put these options on the legend. Again, it's as simple as switching the row and column. So now we can see that we sell way more in California than we do in either of these other geographical locations. And this is how the California sales are made up. Big amounts of computers and software and much less of consulting and telephony. We can also see that that's pretty much the same sort of mix in these other locations, although the amounts that we're selling are smaller. When it comes to creating charts, you want to choose a simple chart that you understand, and also that the chart actually shows what it is that you're trying to show. So if we were comparing in a report the sales made in Canada, California and other West Coast, then this would be a really good chart. But if we wanted to focus more on the items that we're selling and compare those, then we would use a chart that looks like this. So you want to be thinking in terms of what do I want to show in my chart, what questions do I want to answer, and then which type of chart is going to show the data for me best of all, to make it easy for the person who's looking at the chart to understand exactly what's going on. Pie charts, column charts, and clustered column or stacked column charts are really good choices for basic charts. You're seldom going to go wrong with these kind of charts. They're charts that people understand, and that's the purpose of making them in the first place, is a chart that people will understand and be able to use. If you like carefully researched content like this, clearly presented in a step-by-step format so that you can get great results every time, then you'll love my other YouTube videos. So give this video a thumbs up and click to subscribe to the channel. And on the screen now, you'll see a video that I've handpicked for you to watch next.